Here we go in 3, 2, 1, fire. Deploy, 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 deploy. Oh, it kind of did. Oh, there she goes. And touchdown. Hello everybody, I've got kind of a different video from what I normally make for what Databot can do. Today we're going to build a water rocket and a place to keep our Databot safe, and then a parachute so that we don't damage our $200 Databot, and we keep it nice and safe. And the way we do that, the way we're going to deploy our parachute is we're going to use a Tommy timer. It's basically a wind-up toy with a trigger mechanism so that it starts the timer on launch. And we were using a little lever. It's just a paper clip that's bent out straight. And then when the rocket fires, the momentum or the inertia will move that and then deploy the parachute. And you can adjust the timer for how long you want that to fly up before it deploys the parachute. Somewhere around 2.5 to 3 seconds max is what I was aiming for. So, please feel free to pause the video whenever you need to. And it's a fairly long one. I've got it broken up into components. So the timer, the fin assembly, the payload section, Nosecone, and the parachute. And then I'm going to make a separate video on how to make the launch pad. If you go to buy a launch pad, they're around $250 from Pitsco. And I made one for around $25 to $30 using PVC pipe. So anyway, this is a fun video. I love rockets and I love Databots, and when I combine them, I'm pretty much in heaven. So, all right, to make the parachute, what you're going to need is a garbage bag, some kite string, scissors are handy, a box knife or X-Acto knife, a ruler, yardstick, and some tape. As far as the garbage bag goes, pretty much anything will work. I already cut this garbage bag up into a 23 by 23 inch square in advance to save some time. I used the box knife to do that, and it cuts really nice. It's easier than the scissors. We're going to make an octagonal parachute today, and to do that, I used ChatGPT. I just put in, because it's actually kind of hard to get an equal-sided octagon from a square without doing some math, and if you're in a hurry, ChatGPT is kind of an easy one to do. So, according to ChatGPT, if I cut 6 3/4 inches off this side, roughly 17 centimeters off of each side, at a 45, I should have roughly the same length sides on each of the octagons. So let's get going. And I will, of course, just do one side and then skip ahead so you don't have to watch me do all 4 sides. I don't think it's too complex. So here we go, 6 3/4 or 17 centimeters. Sharpie marker, 6 3/4, little mark, and a 6 3/4 mark. And let's just double check that first one. Yeah, did good. All right, here's a little trick. If you take some tape and put it on the corner here, when you go to cut your side out here, it will allow you to pull kind of tight as you're cutting, and that will make the plastic easier to cut through. This thin stuff is kind of tricky sometimes. All right, so here I have my box knife, and I'm going to carefully cut along the straight edge here. And I've got a cardboard here underneath just to protect my table. And as you can see, it cuts really nice. All right, as you can see, I've gone ahead and cut all 4 corners off, and now I have fairly roughly even length sides for my octagon. We're ready to start our shroud lines now. Shroud lines are the lines that go from the parachute to the rocket, and I like fairly long ones. I've already pre-marked this off in advance. This is 36 inches for my shroud lines, and that's roughly 18 inches on each side because we're going to use it like a loop. So 18-inch length on each of the shroud lines. So I'm going to go ahead and hold my finger on this to get 3 equal lengths. Hey, that's a long one. And then one more. There we go. And now I'll go ahead and cut this off with some scissors. And cut them into 3 equal lengths. All right, there's our 3 shroud lines. I'm gonna put 2 aside for now. The way we're gonna do this is we're gonna put, connected there. We're going to put one set of shroud lines right here, and one here, and one here. So it'll kind of form a triangle shape for the shroud lines. This is the way they do a lot of model rockets. And so this is the way I did it. To fasten it to the parachute, I've seen people cut holes in the parachute. You know, honestly, that's a lot of work, and I don't think you actually gain anything, and in fact, you may weaken the structure of the parachute. So this is the way I like to do it. I make kind of a U shape or a J shape in the string, and then I put some tape over that, and then I just attach it directly to the parachute, and it really does work pretty well. And here's another one. Another corner, and there's one done. I'm gonna go for these 2 now. I'll probably speed this up or skip ahead, but we'll see. I guess you'll find out before I do. Oh, I already got my strings cut. So I'm gonna go for this one and this one next. J shape. Corner here, and corner here. And then the last one is going to go right here. All right, and then as you can see, we have a nice parachute ready to go. The way I now fold it up and make sure all the shroud lines are all the same length is I fold it in half. Kind of organizing the string as I go. Close that box line. And then I'm going to fold it one more time. This should make a nice little center point for me to grab onto. All right, so there's the point is I'm gonna grab it from, and then I can grab all 3 shroud lines. Make sure I grab the loops. There we go. Now I have my parachute, and they're all the same length. Now what I like to do is I like to put an overhand knot, so I just, it forms a kind of a permanent little loop that you can attach things to later. And it guarantees that you're always grabbing from and connecting it to the center of the same length shroud lines every single time. This is the mechanism to make the parachute release when we want it to. It's a little wind-up toy, and we have kind of taken it apart and added a paper clip. And this is how it works. If you can see, there's a little catch or a little cutout of this wheel. This wheel is normally used to power the legs of the wind-up toy, but we're going to use it as a catch. And so the way it works is you're going to wind up the toy and store some energy in it. And then this will be sitting on the rocket kind of like this. And then when the rocket fires, it's going to pull that lever away from the catch like this. Oh, and the rubber band will be holding a string that holds the parachute down. And then as soon as the rocket takes off, it's going to pull that lever down and start the timer. And how many times you have this wrapped around is how long the timer will delay the parachute deployment. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make that. And all you need is a paper clip, a 3D printed, I call it a timer lever, and I will have a link to where you can get this in the description, as well as where you can find the wind-up toys. All right, so we need to take apart our wind-up toy. I always feel a little guilty about this, breaking a toy, but it's for the good of humanity, right? Okay, so I like using some wire cutters. It works really well. You could also use needle nose pliers, and I go along this weak spot where the seam is, and I do one side, and I do the other. And there's my dog barking at the mailman. He's doing a good job of keeping us safe today from all the scary things in life. Now you could keep these pieces and make something else with it. I usually just throw them away. Okay, here's the uncut wheel. Hopefully you can see that. And it actually comes with two, so if you mess up, we can use the other side on this. You'll notice that it's kind of oblong. The pin here is right there that is connecting it to the mechanism. So we're going to pop that off, and kind of an easy way to do that is to use the wire cutters and just lift it up. You could also just use your fingernails and pull it out. There it is. And it came out of that little kind of a half circle slot right there. And we're going to cut up toward that and form kind of a Pac-Man face on this wheel. So I'm going to use my wire cutters and cut slowly so it gives it time to kind of relent. I don't know how to say that better, but it gives it time to move out of the way of the cut. So there's the first cut. We're just basically cutting a little rectangle out of it. And there's the next cut. And it should fall away. And you could do this in advance for students if they're younger. If they're older, they're very capable of this. I have my 8th graders do this all by themselves. Some seem to need help, some don't. So, and the cool thing is you have another shot at this if you mess it up. So I'm just cleaning up this whole little bit and making it look nice. And when you're done, it should look like that. This next part's kind of tricky. You got to install it back on there. And if you look, there's a little flat spot on this axle. And so we got to find that flat spot. So it looks like it goes right there. And it just pops back on. And there it is. And the way it's going to work is that's going to catch there. Yeah, looks good. And we don't need this other side, so you can pull it off and then save it in case somebody else messes up one. So you can use that again, or pre-prepare and cut them all and get them ready for the next group. And I'm going to cut off this axle on the other side so that it doesn't cause any problems for our rocket deployment system. Okay, the next part is we need to make the lever for this. And the way you do that is you bend out a paper clip, and you can use needle nose pliers, or you can just use your hands. Don't need a tool for everything, although tools are great. Here we go. Bending this out, and that last one's being tricky, so I am going to use the needle nose to kind of straighten it out a little bit. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's probably going to get bent on the flight or recovery of the flight anyway. So, okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take and bend a 90-degree corner on it about a centimeter down. So there's about a centimeter. I'm just estimating. I'm not going too crazy with this. There's my 90 degrees. Okay. And then the cool thing about this mechanism in particular is it has a built-in little hole right there. It must be for some other purpose. I don't know what, but for us, it works perfect. So we're going to stick the paper clip down in there. And I cut that one perfectly. I don't think I'm gonna have to adjust it. But if you cut it too long or too short, there's plenty of length here. You can try again. And it is a little. Let's see. It is a little long. See, it's going right past that little catch. So that's good. We can adjust it. So I'm just going to take a teeny bit off. These particular needle nose have a little wire cutter system built into them, so they're kind of nice for this. So I'm just going to cut, a couple, maybe a 16th off of that, or a couple of millimeters. Let's try it out now. There it is. That's perfect. See, it catches that, and as I tighten it, it'll hold it. All right, and next we're just going to bend this in the same direction that we bent it before and make kind of a U shape. So here we go, and I'm bending it over just on the body of the timer or wind-up toy mechanism. And there it is. So kind of a U shape. Bend that straight. There we go. And we can test it out now. And this will be sitting on the rocket like this. And when the rocket fires, it will go like that and start our timer. Our last step is just putting in our release lever. Timer release lever is what I call them. And it's just, I've designed it so that it's a really tight press fit. And that's it. This is where your string, you'll see in a future video how the parachute hooks on here. And then you wind it up, give it some energy. Let's see. Like that, and then you hook your rubber band on it, and then it goes up to the parachute. And then when the rocket fires, as soon as this swings around towards the top, where it's facing up on the rocket, so right there, that's going to release the parachute. And you can get an idea of how long that'll take and do some experiments with that. That could be a whole activity on itself. So, all right, and that's it for the timer. Okay, to attach the timer to the rocket, I have a 3D printed fin ring, and this just goes around the outside of the rocket, and you can attach your cardboard fins really nicely, and they should be symmetrical. Symmetric? Yeah, that's probably the better word. The way this works is I print these in stacks of 4 so that I can have them ready for the students, and so you may need to do some cleanup. I didn't clean the bottom up, and you can see the little support structures that print with it. So I'll have to clean that up a little bit. In fact, I'll do that off camera later, but that one's driving me crazy. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to need to put this in this slot right here. And I want a little more room on this. And so what I do is I cut just a little bit of this corner off of this ring. So I just cut about 2 or 3 millimeters off of this. Let's see if I can do it. And again, I'm using my wire cutters. And there we go. And this will just give us a little more surface area to glue to. I'm going to update that in the design, so you may not have to do that by the time you get to this. Now, there you go. So this is perfectly sized for this timer, and it should work perfectly. Now, we're going to hot glue this in, but it's a little scary to hot glue next to this gear. This main gear, if you get any hot glue in it, it can cause your timer to quit working. So I've just got some masking tape here, and I'm going to put this over that hole just to prevent any hot glue from getting in our mechanism. Okay, and then I'm going to push that up around the top, just like so. Okay, and then now we're just going to hot glue that in. So, a little hottie G. And it doesn't take a lot. This is not under a tremendous amount of stress by any means. And so that is plenty of hot glue. Yep, there we go. And that's how you attach your timer to the rocket. Of course, this is not mandatory. You don't have to print this ring fin guide adjustment. Let's see, what is it called? Fin ring and timer ring. But it is handy if you want to build your rockets fairly quickly. You can just attach your fins directly to the bottle. You just have to be really careful because if you're using hot glue, it can melt the bottle. I have used silicone on my own rockets, but trying to do that with a class is kind of crazy. So I found this works great, and we get the fins on there nicely, and then we don't have to worry about gluing to the fairly thin bottle, the pressure vessel. Okay, our next step is placing our fin rings on our 2-liter bottle. To make sure that it's straight, I'm going to use a Sharpie marker, and I'm just going to draw a straight line as best I can. Just eyeballing it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just gives me at least an idea so you can see it a little better where that straight line is going to go. And that's going to be where our fin is. One fin is. And then our 3D printed rings are going to go right here. And it's just going to go up like that. And then the one with the that we worked on in a previous little video that holds the timer is going to go on after that. And we want that one about as low as we can go. And this one about 2 inches from that. And just make sure they're lined up and straight. And they look pretty good. Now you can take a little bit of hot glue, and you want to be careful with this. This is a pressure vessel, so we don't want to use too much hot glue and melt the 2-liter bottle. So I'm just going to put a teeny bit, and what I call teeny tiny bit is that much right there, and we're going to tack it on and make sure that it's kind of sitting straight before we fully glue it. And a whole bunch of little touch points like this will make it fairly strong without ruining the bottle and ruining its effectiveness. And notice mine creeped just a little bit as I'm going, so I'm going to fix that, and then I'm going to put some more hot glue on there. Keep that straight. There we go. Ooh, that's a lot. Come on now. Make sure it's straight. Turn it over and see if I can get the other side better. There we go. Once we get the fins on here, that'll help as well. There we go. We'll let that dry. Cool. See, got a lot on that one. Move that just a little bit with my finger. There we go. I'm going to let that cool so that it doesn't keep moving on me. Okay, I think we're cooling down enough now. A little bit there. Now it'll kind of stay stationary or stable as I tack it down. And I just put a little touch on each place where the fins are going to be. And already had one there. And you can see I'm already causing some deformation from the heat. But as long as we don't damage the bottle too much, it'll be fine. All right, now we're ready for fins. To make your fins, it's basically make a design that interests you, right? The only thing you want to consider as you're making your fins is that it doesn't interfere down here. When the rocket is attached to the launch pad, it needs to be able to grab on right there. I got hot glue on my hand. So the rocket launch pad holds this little lip, and so we can't interfere with that or get too close to that. So as long as you build your fins and put them so that they're a little above that, for instance like that, it'll be fine. And there's my fin. I'm going to go off camera, cut 4 or 3 more, and maybe clean up this a little bit so it sits a little more flush. Yeah, and you can design your own fins. Okay, as you can see, I've gone ahead and cut out all my fins. I didn't bother with the little cutout on every single one of those. I don't think it'll matter, and honestly, it's a lot of work for little result. So one thing you could do with students is you could just cut basic shapes out in advance so that, you know, if you can't trust them with a box knife, you know, you could have these pre-cut out in just a triangular shapes. They do not have to be as elaborate and as funny shaped as these are. The way I got this little curve is I just kind of eyeballed this and made that curve happen, but you do not need it. You just need something that causes drag at the tail end of the rocket. And of course the back end of the rocket is right there. All right, so we'll just glue these in. It's nothing too complicated. We're just gonna put a little hot glue in each little fin slot and then stick the fin inside that fin slot. There she goes. And I'm just going to push it down as far as I can. And there we go. Let that cool and go on to the next. I'm just eyeballing where it was sitting on the last one. Is it higher or lower? And that looks good. And 2 more. I'm just eyeballing at the height of it, where it's located. Looks about there, good. In my classroom, I have multiple hot glue gun stations. You know, I don't know what your comfort level is with hot glue. It can be somewhat dangerous for kids. We have had some minor injuries with hot glue, but you know, people can go and get concussions in all kinds of sports. To do a little something exciting in a classroom, I think we should be able to do that as well. So if a little burn is you know, too scary for you, okay, maybe you could pre-hot glue all these fins for them and do smaller, you know, larger groups or smaller tasks for them to actually do with the hot glue. So anyway, that's the fin assembly. All right. Now we need a place for the Databot to sit safely. And the top of this bottle is not a great place to attach it. So I'm going to make a little bulkhead. And the way I do that is I just take another piece of cardboard and cut a shape out of that, a round shape that can hold the Databot. To do that, I'll take a roll of tape and just trace the inside diameter of the tape. And that's the perfect size. We can hot glue that directly to the body of the rocket and of the 2-liter bottle and call it good. So trace the inside diameter. And then, of course, cutting that out, which I'm going to do off camera. All right. Now that I've cut the basic shape out that I'm looking for, I'm going to hot glue that directly onto the top of the rocket. And this will be a bulkhead. It's going to go like that on where the Databot is being held. So this is fairly safe to hot glue on because this side of the bottle has a thicker plastic and it's not as fragile as the sides. So you can kind of be a little less careful about how much and where you put the hot glue. And there's the bulkhead for the Databot. And then for the Databot to actually be held on is I'm going to use some Velcro with some sticky on the other side. And then I can attach one side to the Databot and then one side to the rocket here. So I'm going to use the kind of rough side for the rocket. All right, And that's where the Databot will go, on the bulkhead. All right, as you can see, I have the Databot attached with the double stick tape on the bulkhead. And now for a Nosecone slash payload bay, we're going to use the bottom of a rocket, or another bottle, and attach it like this. Now, we're going to need some holes in this because the way Databot measures altitude is using differences in air pressure. So we need to make sure that this chamber is equalized to the outside atmosphere as it goes up. So we're going to poke a hole in this. This nose cone also serves as a crumple zone. So if the rocket's parachute fails to deploy, it will hopefully prevent the Databot from being damaged too badly. Anyway, all right, I marked a little spot there. You could use a drill bit. I'm trying to kind of show you how you could do it without any tools. So I'm just going to use my trusty rusty wire cutters. And the way I do that is I just kind of put it in there and spin it back and forth. And since this is not a pressure vessel, if I accidentally make an ugly hole, it's not too big a deal. And there she goes, starting to cut. And then once I have a hole there, you can see it. I can use my scissors to kind of make it bigger, and I just do the same operation. I think about a 1/4 inch hole works pretty well. If you keep spinning this nicely as you go, it makes a fairly decent hole without having a drill bit. And that's roughly a 1/4 inch hole. And you're going to do that on every lobe. I've done 1, 2 already. Off camera, I'll finish that. All right, to finish off this Nosecone slash payload section, we're going to want to be able to get into our Databot and turn it on and off. And so I'm going to cut a little door. I'm going to be really careful. I don't want to affect the kind of the structural integrity of this bottle, so I want to be really careful. I'm just going to make a little use my Sharpie marker and kind of figure out where I'm going to make, what size I want to make, so I can get my finger in there. And I'm just going to make a door that I can open and close and then tape back up if I want to. So I'm going to create kind of an L shape, or a box shape, maybe like this, carefully. And then with my box knife, gently, and make a little cut. I'm going to try the wire cutters. Maybe that'll cut nicer once I've already poked a hole in it. Yeah, that actually works really well. There, now I have kind of a door, a little opening I can open up, get in, start my Databot, and then close it back up and fly the rocket. And the structural integrity hasn't really suffered too much from it. So, and then our last step for as far as the completion of the payload bay is to tape it on. So I'll just take a little bit of tape and tape her on. A little short. Let me put one more piece on there. There we go. There's our payload bay with a little access port to turn it on and off. Now for the recovery system, I'm going to use today some elastic band, elastic rope. I don't know what it's called. But you could string together 3 or 4 rubber bands, large rubber bands, and do the same thing here. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to go on the opposite side of your timer. So turn it over. Oops, I had some energy stored in it. Sorry about that. Woke me up a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach this rubber band to the body or the body of the rocket. And the way I do that is I'll just use some tape. And I'll put the tape over it like this. Pull it down just a little bit. Then, to make it a little more mechanical fastener, I'm going to lift this up and put the tape on that. That'll give us a little extra reliability, and it won't just pull through the tape. Okay. There's not a lot of tension on it, so it's probably not a risk. But then turn the rocket over and check to see that it fits over the top and then easily onto the release mechanism of the timer. And you can see that it does here. So when this comes up, it's going to let that go. And we could do a test really quick. Here, let's take that off. Reset our timer here. There we go. Wind it up a little bit, charge it with energy, put the hook on, and then wind it up more. And now you'll see how the parachute will be deployed eventually. When the rocket fires, it's going to let go of that cord, and hopefully the parachute will be deployed. All right, and our final step in this, I believe, is we're going to attach our parachute to this. A couple ways you could do that. I'm going to hot glue it directly to the nose cone again because I like this parachute. Oops, there we go. Little hottie G there. I'm going to hook my string directly onto that. Ooh, get my fingers in the hot glue. Ooh, as my grandpa would say, no pain, no brain. No brain, no pain. And then I put a little tape over that to make sure that it doesn't come off. All right. Pressing that in nice and tight. All right, and so now we're ready to actually try this mechanism out. I'm going to roll up the parachute, stick it on the nose cone here, / payload bay, wrap our cord. Oh, I got hot glue on my fingers, just a second. Okay, there we go. Over the top of our parachute, and it's firmly holding it, and then hook it onto our timer, and it is ready to fly. We just wind it up and launch this thing. So, all right, let's go launch.